Give a brief introduction of yourself. So, I am a fifth year doctoral candidate at the University of Georgia, working on my PhD in analytical chemistry. I am a first generation college student. I earned my bachelor's degree from San Diego State University in San Diego, California, in chemistry. Then I went on to graduate school and earned my master's in chemistry from Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas. And just from an early age, I knew was interested in math and science. I think my earliest exposure that I can remember was probably in elementary school, and we had like a science fair, and it was parted with the local college as well, and that just really, you know, helped me build that interest of math and science. And then I've really had really amazing mentors that have motivated me and supported me all throughout my academic journey. Why did you choose to pursue analytical chemistry? So I chose analytical chemistry because it was the area of chemistry that made the most sense. When I was an undergrad, I remember the courses that I took. And when I took general chemistry, for example, I really enjoyed how I could use logic to me and numbers. And so it kind of helped, it played on my interest in math. But when I started to take like organic, for example, that was a tough subject for me at the time. It didn't make sense. All of those mechanisms and arrow pushings, I was really confused. Over time, I've started to appreciate them. But back then, I enjoyed characterizing those compounds that we synthesized during lab. And so that kind of helped me know, hey, you enjoy analytical chemistry over like, PChem or OChem or inorganic, something like that. How did you go about making industry connections during your PhD? So, honestly, my industry connections came about from my PhD advisor. My PhD advisor has many industry connections. He owns many businesses, and he's never really given his students like formal training on how to turn your research into like a product or how to conduct business from an academic standpoint. But what he really has done is modeled how to make your network your net worth. And just, he always pushed the idea and gave us tips that it's all about who you know. And so he's really helped us with and pushed us to network, especially when we go to conferences. So one of my industry collaborations came about from attending a conference actually last year where this industry connection went to a talk and my professor's name was mentioned. Then that person came to my poster and then they were interested in working with me and my professor. And so that was a really amazing experience that I would not have had if it wasn't for my advisor's name. How would your expertise help you transition into non-academic careers? So after graduation, I would like to work in the pharmaceutical industry. And as with any product that you make, doesn't matter the industry, there's some product quality assurance. And so I really think that my skill sets as an analytical chemist will be very useful, specifically since I use mass spectrometry and chromatography, and I know some other spectroscopy skills. So I think that will be really helpful, but also like in my area of research specifically of studying carbohydrates and linked glycans and studying glycopeptides, glycoproteins, etc., things like that, I think will really be able to help me stand out as an applicant and help me transition into a career that's not in academia. How were you able to determine that UGA's PhD program was a good fit for you? So I chose my PhD program based on my research interests. Like before I really knew which discipline I wanted to pursue in chemistry, um, I knew I enjoyed chemistry, but I didn't know necessarily what area or which program I wanted to apply to. And when I started to attend conferences, I started to work. Well, sorry, back up. when I was working in a research lab in undergrad, and then I started to present my research at conferences, I found out that there was another area of discipline outside of the main like 6 areas of chemistry. So like outside of analytical, P-chem, inorganic, O-chem, biochem, stuff like that. And that was chemical education. So I always had an interest in chemistry, and I had an interest in teaching. I wanted to be a chemistry professor. And so after I learned that there are programs out there that are interested in studying, teaching, and learning chemistry and coming up with innovative ways to present the subject, I was like, wow, I want to apply to programs that have this area of research. And so from that conference, I started to seek out PhD programs that had chem ed within their chemistry department. But what I found out is there weren't that many programs available. So there's a lot of programs that have the many disciplines of the main disciplines of chemistry, but not many with chem ed. So UGA happened to be one of those schools that had chem education as a discipline in their chemistry department. And once I was accepted, I was really interested in going into a lab that focused their research on that. One of the things I did not know is that you get formal training within the main six disciplines. That professor that did chem ed also did organic. So I was like, didn't want to do that. But so I joined a analytical chemistry lab. So, what are some tips that you would give incoming PhD students on finding their dissertation advisor? Some advice I could give a student on selecting their dissertation advisor, I would say before meeting or looking at the professors, ask yourself, what type of student are you? Are you selecting an advisor that is, balanced? And are you considering their experience and their expertise? Specifically, I mean, like, how often is this professor publishing? Are there students on their papers? What type of connections does this professor have? And you can look at all of those things up before even meeting the professor. Also, does that professor have alignment, or can they support my professional and personal expectations? And like that's a multi-layer question. I think that's challenging sometimes to navigate when you're a first year student because you're not sure quite what your expectations are. And they'll change throughout the years. But I just remember during my first year, I think that's so important was, did I feel comfortable talking with my professor? Did I feel like they can support me? And my academic and professional goals, So, most important, find a mentor who values your growth and aligns with your goals, and definitely take the time to assess like their compatibility beyond their accolades and consider factors like communication and availability and feeling comfortable within the group. I think that's key when selecting an advisor to help you be successful and finish a PhD program.